All right, week 3, we've got our first exam. When you look at this list, it looks like we've got a lot to do. Don't panic because most of this there's a few things we have to do this week. Obviously, the test, you've got some lectures to watch. But the back half of this is just reminders for the future. So don't let this overwhelm you. All right, so this week, first off, number one, the big thing is exam 1 is going to be open Monday and Tuesday. So that is going to cover the intro to animals and sponges and cnidarians. That was the first lecture that you watched on week 1. And then the flatworms, roundworms, rotifers, and annelids that we watched last week. Just those 2 lectures. That's it. Now, those are long, so I know that that's not a small amount. But that is the material that's going to be on the test. Test is about 60 questions, and you're going to have a minute per question, which is an hour. Now, so some students get scared when they see like that there's a time limit, and that can stress them out because there'll be like a countdown clock. You are not going to need that much time. I've given these online tests for years now. I'm going to say a huge majority of students are done in 20 minutes, like probably 15 minutes or less. So if you prepare and if you study and if you know the material, that time limit is not going to be a concern. So don't let that scare you. All right. Pay attention to the instructions for the environment video, and then there are additional instructions afterwards. I want to make sure you read those. I know, like in the spring semester, we've been going for like 10 weeks, but this is the very beginning of the mini 2 semester. So I don't want to take for granted that you kind of know how the rules are and how everything works. You have to follow those instructions in order to make sure that you get credit for the exam. All right. I've had students in the past who skipped the environment video. You just like click straight through it and you didn't show your environment. I can't give you points for that. In a regular test, we would be in a classroom and you would have to like clear off your desk. And you have to do that before I give the test. In an online class, you have to clear off your environment and then show me that you did that before you can start the test and get credit for it. All right. It's not fun. I promise I don't enjoy it. It's one of my least favorite things about online courses is having to go through and deal with all this. It's not fun to review the videos even when there's not any issues. But just make sure you follow those instructions. That's going to allow me to verify your grade a lot quicker. So when you're done, just a heads up, the way this will work is when you take your test, it's going to say like it was submitted and it needs grading. I have to review your video before I can post your grade. So if everything was good, and I'll get that done probably sometime Wednesday at the latest. But if everything was good, I'll post your grade and no big issues. If there were problems though, like if you skip the environment video or if you've got anything, number one, if you've got anything out during the test, like a phone or notes or anything like that, then it's just a 0. But if there are issues like the environment video, I can't post a grade. All right. So I know that's a pain for you too. It's a pain for me. I just want to make sure we kind of understand how that works before the test. All right. Okay. Finally, let's quit talking about that. You've got a discussion board assignment. So this is new. We haven't done anything like this yet in the semester. But every week that we have a test, I'm going to post a discussion board. And what it is usually is just like a quick video for you to watch that deals with the material that we covered in lecture for that test. So this one, it's going to be a couple short video clips on sponges. It's going to deal with how sponge cells can join together to make multicellular organisms. So you're going to watch both of those videos. And then there's a discussion board. So number 1, you need to leave a post, which is just a summary, something you found interesting. You can relate it to something we talked about in lecture. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, you need to respond to another student's post. This is a way, hopefully, for us to just get some conversation going in the class because it's online, so we're not meeting together. But that discussion board assignment is for discussion. Number 2, it should be some easy points. Like if you'll just leave a comment and reply to another student, that's a 10-point grade that you can get. So just make sure that you don't forget to do that. All right. The next exams, let me jump out of order a little bit, but our next exam is the end of next week. It's going to be Thursday and Friday, March 25th and 26th. It's like 10 days between exam 1 and exam 2. With this being a mini class, it's got to be really fast paced. So exam 2, when we do cover that at the very end of next week, it's going to be on mollusks, arthropods, and echinoderms. So those are 3 different groups. Now, 3, that sounds like a lot, but these are really short lectures. Mollusk is like an hour and a half. That's shorter than either of the lectures we had so far. Echinoderms, about an hour and a half. Arthropods are about an hour and a half. The echinoderms lecture is like 30 minutes at the most. So it's not a ton of material. It's actually less than what was on the first exam. All right. So make sure that I want you to watch the mollusk and arthropods this week for sure. And you're going to have a review quiz that's due on Sunday on mollusk and arthropods. If you would like to, though, so the echinoderms lecture, that's going to be assigned next week. But since our test is at the end of next week, you're going to have to watch it really early, like Monday or Tuesday, so you've got enough time to study before the test on Thursday and Friday. I know this is confusing, I'm sorry. So all I'm saying is, for sure, you need to watch mollusk and arthropods. And if you've got time, I would go ahead and watch echinoderms because you're going to need to know it for the test at the end of next week. All right. If not, if you don't have time to do all of those, you can wait and do the echinoderms. Just make sure you do it early next week. All right. Let's see. I think there's like one more thing I needed to mention. So the review quiz for mollusks and arthropods is due the 21st. We do not have a lab this week, so there's the good news. We had the invertebrates was due last week. You don't have to do a lab this week. But I did want to go ahead and give you a heads up. It says this is a mini mester. The lab kit that you bought included like 10 labs or so, and we just didn't have enough time to go through and do all of those. Like if I wanted to do every single lab that was in that kit, you'd have to do 2 or 3 labs some weeks. I'm not going to do that to you. That's a lot of work. But I didn't want you to feel like you had to buy something that you weren't using. So I've taken one of those labs is on classification of species, and I've made that an optional bonus lab. Now you've got until the end of the semester. May 6th is when that last lab is due. So you can wait if you want to. But if you do have a little bit of free time this week, since we don't have a lab due, if you wanted to go ahead and do the classification of species lab, then you'll have it out of the way. The way that bonus lab is going to work is I'm going to make it 20 points just like a regular lab, but those are going to be bonus points that will really help your grade out. I did that for my mini 1 last semester, and for several students, that bonus lab was enough to bump their grade up a letter grade. All right. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you don't do it this week, that's always an option for you to do later. But if you have some free time, feel free to go ahead and do it this week. All right. That is it for week 3. If you got any questions about anything, let me know.